We'll go back over in a moment what you can do with this comma separated value file that you've been able to retrieve using the code that I've shown you here. But before we do that, I want to show you demonstrate the other script that I've given you. Let me paste it down here. I've already got it on my clipboard. There we go. Now it looks very similar to the original script. But there are a couple of important differences. One is the data frame name has changed. The original data frame in the original code was my census data. Now it's called my census map data, so that gives you a hint here as to what's different. Also, if you look down here, this geometry argument, it's now set to true. By the way, that has to be capitalized, capital T, capital R, capital U, capital E. In the original script, notice that was false. Okay, so what this does is this is going to retrieve the same two variables that the original script did here and here, but because this false turned to true, it's going to retrieve the boundaries, the geometry for every county in Tennessee, and is going to associate those boundaries with the data that you're retrieving. And then it's going to save it in a different data frame called census map data. So that way we preserve the original my census data here that has just the data in it. And there's a reason for that. If you could just overwrite this my census data, but then if you tried to open it in Microsoft Excel or in Google Sheets, you're going to get this big long column of boundary data that is not going to work very well. It's going to mess up your spreadsheet. So it's good to keep them separate. Let me run this, and then I'll talk about it just a little bit more. Again, you're going to need to paste your Census API key in here, not the fake one that I've got. So I'm just going to skip over that part. Let's see. Let me just run this part. You don't really need to run the install packages thing again because you've already done that. And let's see. Actually, I don't need to reopen these libraries because in this session they're already open. Let me just start right here. Start with the My Census Map Data code right here. Let me run that. There we go. So it's getting the data. It's got the data. It's finished. Okay. And see, we have this new data frame up here, this My Census Map Data. And we open it up. See, it looks just like the My Census data right here. You've got your household income and your percent SNAP and the two error margin variables here. Household income, SNAP, two error margin variables. But this is what's new, this geometry column right here. These are the codes. These are latitude and longitude codes. You can see it's a pretty big list for the boundaries of each of these counties. And finally, the code is going to save that in a KML format. You might remember KML. You've dealt with KML files, right? When we made the map of median rents for the different counties in the Nashville area, you got a blank KML file. You imported that KML file into a layer in a blank Google Bimap, and then you opened the data table for that layer, and you manually entered the median household income for each county on the map. Remember that? And that was pretty easy to do. There were only about 7 counties. It wasn't a big deal. Well, there are almost 100 counties in Tennessee. It would take a lot longer to do that if you wanted to represent some information about every county in Tennessee. Well, this is going to do it for you automatically. It's going to create this file, this KML file. Let's see. Let's get it back up here. There it is. Create this KML file for you. It's going to have the boundary information in it already in this geometry column right here. And then it's also going to have all of this data already associated with each county, so you don't have to type it in. And you'll just be able to import this KML file all at once into a Google My Maps layer, and it's going to make a gorgeous map, and you'll see this in just a minute. All right, so we've got that saved. Let's see, did I actually run? I don't think I ran the KML, this one. Let me run this line real quick. Sure enough, there's the KML file now in my environment. So I've got the CSV file, the comma separated variable file, and the KML, both here, both waiting for me to do something with them. One quick tip: if you run this again, and this KML file already exists in your environment over here, you're going to get an error. Let me show you what that looks like. Here we are. Run it. There we go. See, error in CPL, right? A bunch of gibberish. Data set already exists. That's the clue. The way to solve this problem, if you're running the code again somehow, is just delete this KML file from your environment. Just check the box there and choose delete. And see, it removed it. Now, if I run it again, no problem. There's the file. It basically, the code can't. It doesn't know how to. It doesn't know that it has permission to overwrite the KML file that's already there, and so it freezes. So so either don't run it twice. There's really no reason to run it twice. If you've got the file, you've got the file. But if there was some kind of a mistake in the file, and you forgot and you wanted to add something, just be sure you delete the original KML file before you regenerate it. Another way you could solve the problem is change the name of the file so it's a whole different file. Like if I did my census map data 2 like that and ran it, again, no problem. It would just create a second KML file right there. So that's another solution. But you'll be able to complete the homework assignment just as is. But that's just a tip if you're using this program or this script in the future. All right, so now that we've got this CSV file and also have this KML file, just to avoid confusing myself, let me take this one back out. There we go. Let me go ahead and show you what you can do with these files now that you've generated them.